Okay, so I think we're gonna get started. So welcome everybody, and I hope it was a good week. Just let me tell you what's going on for this coming week. There's a lot going on. So first of all, on Sunday, we have our Ungala at 6 p.m. There's actually a magic show at 5:45. If you like magic, it's great for kids or adults, anybody. It's sort of like a pregame show at 5:45. And there's going to be some really nice things. There's going to be some really nice short talks by members of the shul, an auction where you can band together with friends to have a catered dinner in person if it can be worked out by health standards, or by Zoom with food delivered to your house. And the meal is with Shoshi and I. You can and celebrate our community. It's going to be, I think, a really nice night. As you probably saw in the emails, we're going to be starting outdoor minyanim beginning on Sunday night at 7:30. The letter kind of explains all of it in gory detail. Every service is going to be Zoomed as well. That's something that we're going to be trying to do. And but you must register in advance. So you can't just show up to the minyan. It's really just going to be 10 people who registered in advance. And we're just going to make sure that we can cycle through all the people who want to be, with maybe a particular preference to people who are observing your site or saying Kaddish. So we'll see how that's going to work. Also, if you can get on Zoom, but that's about all you can do with Zoom, there's going to be a Zoom basics class this week. There's going to be a Sunday session and a Wednesday session. And if you know Zoom, but you really want to increase your Zoom skills, then you can take a master class in Zoom also on Sundays and Wednesday, this Sunday and Wednesday. You can speak to Mason about that. And if you know somebody who does not even know how to go onto Zoom to take a page from the CSAIR, please let them know that we would love to talk them through it. We can, we've talked to a lot of people through it, because if you can get on Zoom, either by phone or in person, with the picture, then you can be a part of things. And I think there's a lot of people who are struggling with loneliness, and that can help it. So if you know someone like that, let us know, and we can reach out and talk them through it. During the week on Tuesday night, Bernie Goldstein is going to be doing a session for young people in their 20s. It's going to be a career coaching session, talking about how to thrive in challenging times. So if you know some people in their 20s, you can see the announcement and let them know about that. And of course, we're going to be having our minyanim, like I said, at 7:30 in the evening, all outdoors, all Zoomed. Monday Night Torah with Eric Fisher, exploring Rambam's Mishnah Torah that concern the laws of loving kindness. Tuesdays, ice cream and goofy games with Mason. Wednesdays, Torah for Today, this week with Rabbi Greenberg. Thursdays, Nigun singing with Cantor Stevens. Men's Club Schmooze and Cooking Collectively. All of that's virtual. And next Friday night, we'll be honoring our Hebrew school, high school, and college grads. And we'll also continue after services with Kabbalat Shabbat. So now I'm going to turn it over to Cantor Stevens.
So I haven't done this before, but I'm dedicating this nigun to Lior Welt, who is one of our youngest viewers that we've had, Hannah and David's son, because she sent me a video of herself singing this nigun, and the baby loved it. So I'm understanding that as a request. So this one is for you guys.
Thank you so much. I love the nigun, love the dedication. So I want to talk a little bit about the book David Copperfield, which I remember reading very fondly when I was in high school. It's by Charles Dickens. And for those of you who read it, not the main character, but an important character is Uriah Heep, who said more than once in the book, "I am the humblest person going." But as readers, we know that he is anything but humble. As the book goes on, Dickens makes it clearer and clearer that Uriah Heep is actually manipulative, dishonest, and obsequious. Those are words you would use to describe him. He's actually a thief. He says that he's humble, but there's very little evidence that that is true or that that is a defining characteristic of him. Of course, that's the problem with humility. If you say you're humble, are you really humble, right? How could you do that? In this week's Parsha, Balotcha, Moshe is described by the Torah as exceedingly humble, more than any other person on the face of the earth. Va'ish Moshe, anav me'od mikol ha'adam asher al pnei adama. Some people challenge this by saying, we know Moshe, and he has moments when he gets angry. Think about the golden calf. When he's argumentative, think about what he says to God after the golden calf. When he is not at all patient, see the water from the rock, is he really humble? But none of these moments really take away from Moshe's humility for me. They actually help me understand what humility is and isn't. When you look at translations from the Bible, many translate this line as saying that Moshe was meek. They take the word anav and they say it's meek. But it's actually humility. And humility is not being meek or weak or passive. It is knowing our place in the world. It's knowing one's particular spot in the world. A person who's humble like Moshe knows that they don't know everything. They understand that it's not always about them. And they recognize the limits of their own power. And Moshe demonstrates this over and over again, right? He goes to God again and again for advice. He listens to his father-in-law. Later, he refuses to let God destroy the people and install his family as the new Israelites. He knows it's not about him. And he knows as a leader that there are limits to his power. He understands that gossip and anxiety have the power to incite rebellion. And more than once, he acknowledges this and ultimately points us to the ultimate source of our own humility, which is God's ultimate power. Saying that you're humble is different than saying that you're humbled. And I think that many of us have felt humbled in the last 3 months as we've seen this coronavirus prove experts wrong, reveal who is a leader and who is not, shown every person on the globe that this is not about you, it's about us. And so sadly, we recognize that what we want to do, find a cure, is not so easy despite all of our knowledge and power, and that leads us to humility. Another moment that I think should lead us to humility is when we listened last week to the leadership of the Creston Baptist Church who shared their stories. It was humbling. The everyday ugliness of racism, the toll it takes every day, the ways that so many of us are not aware even that this is happening to people that we interact with, people who are neighbors, our friends. As we participated in marches, we read articles, spoke to people with similar experiences, maybe had some hard conversations with our kids and family members, I hope that there were moments where we said, there is so much I don't know. It's not about me, and my power is limited. But this shouldn't lead to meekness or passivity. Rabbi Shraga Simmons writes, humility does not mean meek reluctance to speak up or to be assertive. Humility is not slouching your shoulders and having low self-esteem. Humility is the ability to be objective about one's own position vis-a-vis everyone else. If I'm in the position to lead, then I should lead. And if not, I should defer. I must know where I stand and not take undue liberties. So my question to each one of you is, where can you lead? Where do you need to listen more and learn more? What can be something you can do to respond? We all know that there are so many times when we felt the need to do something to respond to a crisis in the world or a country or a community, and maybe we did. But then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and new issues come up, and we forget how we felt when we said, just shouldn't be. People should not feel like this. People should not be treated like this. We meant it when we said it. But that's where I think humility comes in, not the meek or passive understanding of it, but humility that challenges us to see ourselves clearly, what we can't do and what we can. And when it comes to responding to racism, there is actually a lot that we can do. We can learn. We can speak up when people around us express racist sentiments. We can examine our own biases. We can get involved with organizations that are doing this work. We can listen to the Black community more than we talk. We can protest. We can vote. We can all do something that will continue to respond to what we heard and what we saw, and respond for longer than just a couple of weeks. As a Shul and a Jewish community, we're planning several initiatives to deepen our engagement in these issues, to learn more, to hear more, to do more. And more information about this will be forthcoming, and we'll continue to be in dialogue and action with our interfaith partners. Uriah Heep is a really interesting character. He's not someone most of us would like to hang out with, but as the book goes on, Dickens offers a backstory to explain this. Turns out that Uriah Heep had a hard life. He was born poor. He was sent to live in a school run by a charity, and his entire life, the people in charge of that school told him, you should be grateful for everything you receive. You should be humble. You're lucky to get anything from us. We are all better than you. One could argue that all of this filled him with such anger and rage that he would do anything to ruin other people's lives, that he didn't even know how to live a straight life. I don't think this excuses Heep, but Dickens suggests to us, dear readers, that what we think we know about this character is not all there is to know. That we perhaps should, in fact, be the humblest people going, because we just don't know everything. In the 15th century in Germany, the Orchot Tzadikim offered a definition of humility that inspires me and could be a guide for us. All of the good things that I do are but a drop in the ocean in comparison with what I ought to do. All of the good things I do are but a drop in the ocean in comparison with what I ought to do. But that should not keep us from humbly doing what we can. We're really lucky today to have several people who are going to share their own reflections on the past several weeks, experiences they had. These are members of our own communities, both our shul and the shul in Little Rock, where Ben is intern. And they're going to reflect on these past weeks and what they've meant to them. We're still listening and learning. These reflections are representative of the people who will share them, but I know that there are opportunities for reflection and growth and further discussion by all of us. So first, I want to call on Yona Rosenfield, who will share some reflections.
Thank you. So what I've thought about the most in the last couple of weeks has been how my specific background, that I'm sure many people here can relate to, has shaped me. I, like most of our community, have benefited from white privilege. I went to CSAIR Academy, a private day school. I got into a high-achieving high school by taking an expensive prep class. And I never feared being stopped by the police or followed around in a store. A problem that I've noticed with a large portion of the Jewish community is our relative isolation. The only non-Jews that I knew prior to high school were my baseball teammates. I love the unity of our community, but I also have realized that one downside is a lack of exposure to people who are different from us. I continue to ask myself, how ironic is it to discuss the issues of racism and oppression in an almost completely white group of people? What do I really know? I realize that I will never fully understand what it's like to be Black in America, nor will many of you. I also know that it is a privilege in its own right to learn about racism and not to experience it. But I have learned that because I will never know what it feels like to be the victim of a power dynamic designed to keep me down, I must approach the issue with real empathy and an open heart. I know that there are older members of the Jewish community who have experienced being the victim of that power dynamic, but my generation in America has been fortunate enough not to. Right now, I, as a white person, bear the responsibility of teaching myself what white people have done and still do to perpetuate a system of white supremacy. Reflecting on my homogenous social circles and friends, I've actively tried to listen to the experiences of people of color. Racism is not just the statistics that prove a ridiculously biased education system or criminal justice system. It is also the real feelings and emotions stemming from seeing your own people systematically murdered and bullied for the color of their skin. These are real feelings, and the most important thing that we can do as allies is to listen with empathy and compassion, especially as a group who have been the victims of oppression in our own right. So even though I've grown up in an isolated community full of privilege and safety, I have tried my hardest to be receptive to the experiences of Black people and to fight so that no one has to feel those things. That is why I attended the protest at Van Cortlandt Park last Saturday, to listen to the young Black men and women share their hurt feelings and to voice my own support and solidarity. This Shabbat, I will try to reflect more on my own privilege and do my best to be that much more receptive and empathic in the coming weeks, because Black lives matter. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Yona. Thank you. That was really powerful. Thank you. Thank you for speaking from your heart. And now Rachel Mesh.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Yona. And I just want to preface this by saying that one of the things that has really stood out for me in these past couple of weeks is the voices of our kids. And I'm learning so much and hearing so much from the activism of my own kids. And Yona, you just echoed all of that, and it gives me a tremendous amount of hope. So when Ben asked me to do this, I was thinking that, and it feels like a little bit like something that we do as a Shabbat night, Friday night tradition in our house, which is Roses and Thorns, hearing from different members of the community. And we do it with the members of our household, going around and saying sort of the highlights and lowlights of our week, the goods and bads of our weeks. During quarantine, it's a kind of funny thing to do because we are literally with each other all the time. But it does help us remind us when the week started and ended. And something that happens with Roses and Thorns is that every once in a while, a rose is also a thorn, or a thorn is also a rose. And one of the experiences of this time of isolation for families like us, and certainly not for everybody, but while there's so much suffering going around and you have a sense of profound danger and anxiety outside of the confines of your home, being together and getting to share all these meals and having all of this time as New Yorkers, which we never have enough of, is its own, sort of wonderful thing in the midst of the horror. But we also have this sense of the profound vulnerability outside our doors. And I think that's a point of departure for the empathy that we're being called to have in this moment, the realization with another cycle of innocent Black lives being taken, that some of these lives, Breonna Taylor, before her, Botham Jean, happened, people were killed in their own homes, right? And so the profound privilege we have to not have that fear and the realization that there are others, our neighbors, who live with these kinds of fears, as Yona said, that we don't actually have to face. And so, especially in this time, I felt so grateful to the Riverdale Jewish community and to Riverdale for this sense of protection of our community. Here we are in the epicenter of the epicenter where things literally started at SAIR High School. And to have the community come together and take care of us in this way. And I felt that continually throughout. And then to hear about this, the ongoing vigil at the Riverdale Monument, which was a socially distant vigil, we got this email that was like the Jewish mothers saying, now, please go do this important thing, but be careful, wear your masks. And I found that just so heartening and calming and amazing to have that in this time, knowing at the same time that our neighbors don't necessarily have that. And then to go and participate with my kids, who are cringing behind me right now, and all five of us, Eric and Abby and Sammy and Lizzie, to go out. It was one of the first times going back out into the world, right, with the warm weather, going out into these protests, seeing strangers for their first time. And it was a reminder in the midst of this time where we felt so isolated, and also the message we hear from the media over and over and over again is how divided we are, right? We feel our country kind of pulling apart. But when we step out of our doors in Riverdale, that is not what we see. We see an amazing amount of togetherness and solidarity. And Rabbi Katz beautifully brought that home for us last Friday night to kick off our Shabbat with those incredible speakers. And I think, and it's echoed in your words tonight, this is not something that we are tacking on in a crisis. It's something that has been woven into the threads of our Jewish community. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful for that. Our whole family is deeply grateful for that. And it showed when we left the house, it showed. So last Shabbat, Shabbat morning, and like, as you said, our house is right around the corner from the shul. I heard the sounds of chanting, and it was the march to Van Cortlandt, the Black Lives Matter march, sort of raced across the street down by the shul to see the tail end of these marchers, to see many of you, members of the Jewish community, literally praying with your feet. And we were able to join that march in Fieldston, see people quietly taking a knee on Fieldston Road, and then later catch up with some of you guys who we normally would see at shul, right? On our way to Van Cortlandt. Yona saw you there as well from afar. In this, everyone mask wearing, people handing out masks and bottles of water in Van Cortlandt Park to meet the marchers there and chant together in solidarity. A reminder that as much as we felt isolated, we are dependent on community now, right? The pandemic is about our communal responsibility in this way, and these things kind of all echo each other in these intense ways. And so that was our Shabbat. It felt like very much the first time, a kind of real Shabbat, a community Shabbat last week. And I hope that it inspires us to continue to act as a community for the rest of our broader Riverdale community, gives us a way to continue to support each other for the duration, long past these couple of weeks. This is a long haul, but I'm glad to be doing the work together, and roses and thorns. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's I really appreciate those reflections. I'm gonna now call on Sue Weinstein, who is from Little Rock, to share perspective from a different place, and love to hear your words.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for welcoming our Jewish community as part of yours. For me, the events of the past 3 weeks are heartbreaking. Seeing cold-blooded murder utterly shocks me, along with the disdain on the face of the police officer and the fact that other 3 did nothing to stop it. I marched in 1968 when Black Power was the battle cry. I attended Cornell, which is very liberal, and African Americans took over our student union for 3 days. Most of us students were with them. We marched, we protested, we were on the cover of Time magazine and had so much hope. But here we are, over 50 years later, and literally nothing has changed. Here in Arkansas, most of our marches and demonstrations have been fairly peaceful. Early on, there were a couple of violent events, but a lot of folks think they were outsiders coming in to stir up trouble. Who knows? Being a southern state, we have a long history of racism, a long history. And there's a huge socioeconomic divide within our state. The Delta part of our state, which is the southeastern part, has some of the poorest Blacks in the nation, with little hope of ever escaping their lack of education and opportunities. It's really generational. Between the southeast corner of our state and the fairly well-to-do northwest corner where Walmart's headquarters are and a number of other large corporations, there's a 10-year difference in lifespan. 10 years within one state. I have not marched or protested as I'm older and at higher risk for COVID, but I watched both parts of Oprah's Where Do We Go From Here? I've listened to our local Little Rock mayor, who happens to be African American, and he's convened a task force to look into our police. I've been reading and listening, and in my opinion, if those of us with white privilege, we're the ones that have to make a difference. We're the ones with the power. And if this isn't enough to make real change, I don't know what is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing that experience. And you know, just so rich hearing people, different generations, different life experiences, living in different places. I would love to talk more about what the reality is like in Little Rock as compared to here. And, you know, just again, to tease out how everyone's experience of this is so different.
It is quite different because I'm originally from upstate New York.
Got it. So anyway, so thank you all for sharing. It was really rich. And I think we just need to figure out ways to continue these conversations, right? Like to have these conversations and figure out what it is that we all can do. I'm going to now turn it back to Cantor Stevens.
So since we have not been able to gather on Shabbat morning, I thought we could sing together one of the prayers from Shabbat morning that we've been missing. We're going to sing El Adon. El Adon al kol hamasim Baruch umvorach befi kodesh.
Sorry, everyone. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. I think the cantor might have had some internet issues. So we are going to go ahead and do some closing announcements and our Misha Berach, and when she comes back on, we'll join her again in song.
Okay. So, so I just want to take a minute to think about the people who we love who are sick or in need of healing. Like this week, I got several calls from people not related to COVID, but just people who, you know, one person was in an accident, and other people who have gotten sick in other ways. And we know that the people's fear of dealing with the health system and so much else is, you know, bringing all kinds of things to light. So pray for all of them, and of course for all of the caregivers. Before I start, if people could share, if you have somebody that you're particularly praying for this week, if you could share their name in Hebrew or English, whatever names you know, you can unmute yourself and say them one at a time. Okay, keep the people in your heads and your mind. Misha Berach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Sarif Karachav Leah Yivarech V'Rapeh Tacholim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Racham Yimaleyem Malach Hazikam L'Rapotam V'Yishlach Lahem Meirav U'Hashem L'Chol Ivreihem V'Gideihem B'Toch Shar Cholei Yisrael Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf Refuat Krova L'Vo Ashta B'Galav Yizman Kariv V'Nomar Amen. May God bless our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Bless and heal all of our loved ones. May the Holy One in mercy strengthen them and heal them soon, body and soul, together with all others who suffer illness. And let us say, Amen. And now I'm going to ask Mason to share the screen with prayer in place of Kaddish. Is anybody here saying Kaddish for someone, either the Yort site or saying Kaddish? You can share their names now.
Mona Schwab.
Emmanuel Rizek.
Esther Diamond.
Aina Alcabis.
Jerry Zuckerman.
God of all spirits, in whose hands rest the souls of the living and the dead, graciously and mercifully accept our prayers on behalf of our loved ones, and remember all of the good and kind things that they did in this world. Grant them peaceful rest in the upper world, which is completely good. Yitkadal v'yitkadash, may God's great name be sanctified and glorified. Oseh Shalom, may God who makes peace in the high places make peace for us and for all Israel and for all who live on earth. V'imru, and let us say, Amen. Now you can unmute yourself and join me in Hebrew, if you can. El Elohei Haruchot, Asher biyadcha, Nafshot HaChaim v'Ametim. Pnei Hayom
Mesim.
B'Chesed U'Rachamim,
B'Chesed U'Rachamim.
El Tfilatenu,
El
L'Zecher Yekirenu, U'Zachorna et Kol HaChesed v'Atov, Sha'asu Ba'olam Hazeh. Tein Lahem Menucha Nechona, Ba'olam Ha'elyon, Olam Shekulo Tov. Yitgadal v'Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Oseh Shalom b'Imramav, U'Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu v'Al Kol Yisrael, v'Al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, v'Imru Amen. Amen. May their memories be a blessing. A couple of last announcements. So first of all, as I said at the congregational meeting, which I think most of you were on, we're starting to think about high holidays. And so there's lots of things we're thinking about for the high holidays. Will we be able to be in the building? Under what circumstances? How we use technology? So many other things. So if you have thoughts about any of that, mostly not specific suggestions, but if you have something that you want to feel at the end, an experience you want to have, some general comments about the holidays that you want to share, please feel free to send me an email. And also, if you send me an email, know that I will not see it for a week because I'm going to try something that I've never tried before, which is to be off, but to be in Riverdale. It's been an intense few months, and the encouragement of the executive committee and the board, all of the staff, we're all trying to take a little bit of time, knowing that it's not the normal vacations that we might take, right? None of us are really going very far. So I'm going to be in Riverdale. If you see me in Riverdale, I'll be wearing sandals and a t-shirt, which will be the signal to you that I am not at work. If you send me emails, I will not respond to them. They're going to be, they'll just go to my inbox. Or even better, you can not send me emails this week and wait until next Sunday. That's even the best thing. And, as you know, I don't ever share when I'm going on vacation. But I feel like this one is going to require, it's going to take a village for me to actually feel like I'm on vacation when I'm here in Riverdale. So I'm trying it, and then I will blaze the trail for the rest of the staff. I think it's just really important. Our staff has been working really, really hard, and I think that they all need to take a little bit of time, and so I'm going to be the first one doing that. So now I think Cantor Stevens is back, and she can close with a song that maybe can just lead right into Kabbalat Shabbat.
I'm back, but Matan Glazer has been invited to share a song this week. So, and then after that, I'll be leading Kabbalat Shabbat. So I'm going to send it over to Matan.
Hi, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I know you're used to seeing Rabbi Greenberg here, but it's my honor. So I'm going to be singing Yedid Nefesh, but my daughter might tell me to be quiet. So if you hear all of these Abba no, just ignore it. It's okay. Okay. Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman Meshoch Avdecha El Retzonah Yarutz Avdach Kemo Aya Ishtachave Mol Adara ירב לו ידידותך מנופת צוף וכל טעם אדוני זיו העולם נפשי חולת אהבתך אנא אל נערפנה לה בהרות לה נועם זיוה אז תתחזק ותתרפא והייתה לך שפחת עולם ותקיימו רחמך וחוסנה על בנו אהבך כי זה כמה נחשוף לראות בתפארת עוזך אנא אלי מחמד ליבי חושנה ואל תתעלם יגלנה ופרוס חביב עלי את סוכת שלומך תאיר ארץ מכבודך נגילה ונשמחה בך מהר אהוב כי במועד וכונני כי מעולם ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי נאי ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי נאי ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי נאי ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 נאי. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Stand up. All right. Lechonerana ladonai naria letzur yisheinu mekadmafana v'toda mizmirot navi amo yagadodana lachanakoim asher medom mechkerei aretz v'toafot aliyot Arbaim shanakot bedar v'amaram toy levavim ve'im v'yadu derachai asher nishbati le'afi hivivon el menuchati Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz Shiru l'Adonai baruch shemo Basru miyom liyom Yeshuato Safru l'goyim kevodo ישתחוו לאדוני בחדרת קודש, זמרו מפניו כל הארץ, אמרו בגויים, אדוני מלך, אף תיקון תבל ותימות, ידין עמים ומישרים, ישמחו לשמיים ותגל הארץ, ירום הים, יעלו שדי, וכל בו עיני, אז ירננו כל עצי יער לפני אדוני, כי בא לשפוט הארץ, לשפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים באמונתו די ני 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 אדוני מלך תגל הארץ, ישמחו עם רבים. ענן רפל למעלה חלילה, אש תמלך תלך ותלך מבצרו.
Using these quiet moments of reflections as we read through the Tehillim of the Psalms, perhaps to start thinking about what were each of our roses and thorns from the past week. What were the roses, the roses that were thorns, the thorns that were roses, and everything in between.
Shama v'tismach Zion, v'tagerna benot Yehuda, leman mishpatecha Adonai. Ki ata Adonai Elyon al kol haaretz, me'od na'aleta al kol Elohim. אוהב אדוני סינורה, שומר נפשות חסידיו, מיד רשעים יצילם. אור זרוע לצדיק, וישרי לב שמחה. שמחו צדיקים באדוני, והודו לזכר קודשו. מזמור שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, כי נפלאות עשה, הושיע לו ימינו וזרוע קודשו, הודיע אדוני ישועתו לעיני הגויים, כי נציב צדקתו, זכר חסדו ואמונתו, לבית ישראל ראו כל אפסי הארץ את ישועת אלוהינו, הריעו לאדוני כל הארץ, פיצחו ורננו וזמרו, זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור בכל זמרה, בחצוצרות וקול שופר, הריעו לפני המלך, אדוני ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושביה, נהרות ימחאו כף יחד, הרים ירננו לפני אדוני קיבה, לשפט הארץ. Adonai malach yirgezu hamim, Yoshev keruvim tanut haaretz. Adonai b'tzion gadol, Rahu kol hamim, Yodel shimcha gadol v'nora kadosh hu. Romim Adonai v'hishtachavu le'arkadsho, Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Mizmor leDavid. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu l'Adonai beharat kodesh, Kol Adonai hamayim el hakavod hirim, Adonai hamayim al mayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim v'shaver Adonai et arzei halevanon, vayarkitem kemo egel, kemo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemo ben remim, Kol Adonai chotzev lahavot esh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yachalel ayalot, Vayechesaf yarot uveichalo, Kulo omer kavod, Adonai lamavul yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai Oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo shalom. Lecha dodi likrat kalai ananai 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 penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai ananai 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 penei Shabbat lekabela. Shamor vezachor bedibur echad, Ishmi'anu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, ve'shemo tiferet ve'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kalei ananai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalei ananai ananai pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi v'kor ha'beracha, mirash mikedem nesocha, sof ma'aseh b'machashavat tefila. Lecha dodi likrat kala ananai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalei ananai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumi תצאי מתוך אפיך רב לך שבת ואין מקבחה והוא יחמול עלייך אמנה לך דודי לקראת כלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה התנערי מעפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך בי על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי קורבה אל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לקראת כלה ינני 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 בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה ינני 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 בני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה ינני 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 בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה ינני 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 בני שבת נקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקלמי לא תשתוכחי ומה תהני בך יחסו עניי עמי ונבנתה עיר עתירה לך דודי לקראת כלה כדי שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה כדי שבת נקבלה והיו למשסה שעושייך ורחקו כל מבלייך יסיס עלייך אלייך כי משוש חתן על כלה לך דודי לקראת כלה כדי שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה כדי שבת נקבלה ימינו שמאל תפארתי ואת אדוני תריתי על ידיש ואין פרתי ונסלחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת כלה כדי שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה כדי שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת פעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה כדי שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה כדי שבת נקבלה
שכוח.
שלום ברוכה תהי
שלום.
Yesher koach to Cantor Stevens, yesher koach again to Rabbi Katz, to Yona, to Sue, to Rachel, to everyone who shared, to all of you for being here. And now we had a little bit of unstructured Kiddush time at the beginning, where you could schmooze, and we'll have just a little bit of time now. If you want to stick around and say hello and Shabbat Shalom to a couple of people, and then in about 5 minutes, we'll close the room. So thank you so much again, everyone, for being here, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
everybody.
Shalom, everybody.
Hey, Tilda, how are you?
Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Tilda, how are you? I'm going to unmute you. I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah, you can speak now. How you doing, Tilda?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Rabbi?
Very impressed with your Zoom skills.
You're getting as white as I am.
No, I've been as wet as you are for a long time. It's just that my hair was so short. You couldn't tell, but now there's a lot of it.
Okay. Looks good.
Thank you.
Where's
Thank you.
Shoshi?
Shoshi is somewhere else in the house. I think she was on before.
She was.
She's on, there
Shoshi?
she is. She's waving.
Shoshi,